G'day and thanks for stopping by at the eCave. Today I'll be looking at this Commodore 1801 monitor. See if it ticks. If you're interested in that, please stay. Thanks for staying. Some time ago, while I was in the lockdown down in Sydney, I saw on Facebook somebody nearby where I live in regional New South Wales advertise a Commodore 1801 monitor. Although I couldn't go and pick it up, I asked the guy if it was working. Did he see anything on it when he turned it on? He quickly came back and said, no, it looks to be dead. I think it's something to do with the AC switch. So you can have it for free. In my dilemma, being stuck down in Sydney, I reached out to a friend nearby where I live, one of my neighbours, and he thankfully went and picked it up for me while I was down there. And when I finally got home and I had a look at it, it's a Commodore 1801 from about 85, 86. It's a PAL monitor. It's not NTSC. It must have been made for the European market. So in this episode, I will take it apart, see if we get it to work. Now, before we do that, let's have a look at it in more detail. So here's the monitor. It needs a bit of TLC because it's a bit dirty, but as you can see here at the front, you have all the controls, the power button and the CRT. It's missing the cover. Apparently they came with some polycarbonate acrylic cover that goes here into these recesses and sits in front of the monitor. I don't think they were screen filters. I think they were just plastic protectors. Here's the front panel. It's missing the cover, so I'll have to work out how I can get another cover or 3D print one. There's a switch here to switch between what's called Commodore video and normal video. I gather normal video is simply composite video, and then you have Commodore video, which has the luma and chroma signals separate. You have the color adjustment, the brightness, contrast, and then horizontal and vertical hold, and then audio. This monitor has a audio speaker and audio input for both the normal video and the Commodore video. So you can adjust the volume. And then the power button is here. So it's a bit dirty, but not too dirty. Yeah, we'll be able to clean it. Some stickers. Well, somebody's had a bit of fun decorating with stickers. It seems to be unbroken. Here at the top you have these recesses to hold it, which is handy. And then you have the back panel with a label. It's 65 watts. Now this is a PAL monitor and probably only made for Europe. And here at the back you see the inputs. That's the video audio for composite video, and then you have the video chroma, what they call luma, chroma and audio for the Commodore video. The power cable goes in here, and that's the typical Australian AC power plug. It'd be interesting to see if the AC power cord works. So let's measure the resistance of the primary transformer in here. So I'll put this here while we turn it on. So it shouldn't measure anything now, but as soon as we turn it on, we should get some resistance. Checking. Okay. It seems to be dropping down, almost like a capacitor or something. We'll have to take the cover off and see what's there. Hopefully it doesn't go down to 0. Okay, it settles around 37 ohms, which isn't unusual for the primary transformer resistance. But before I turn it on, I want to take the back cover off just in case and have a visual inspection. So let me turn that off and I'll take the back cover off. Apparently there are 9 screws, 2 up here, 2 up here, and then a few down here. So I'll do that first. I've now taken all the screws out, and of course they couldn't help themselves by having 2 different lengths of screws. So you have to know where the shorter one goes. But anyway, let's take the cover off. We'll push that. I have to lift it up a bit. We need the power cable, of course, as it comes through the cover. Now I have to undo this so I can get that away. All right, let me see. Here it is. So we have the AC cable, which is fine. We can pull that out. But there's a speaker cable as well. So if we want to see this here in the back, we'll have to disconnect if I want to do the visual inspection. So let me disconnect the speaker and do a visual inspection first before we try to turn this on. I've now taken out the chassis a bit so we can look at the power supply. It's a pretty hefty transformer. Looks pretty good, especially for its day and age. I've got a light here. Sorry for the handheld footage, but the fuses are down there. They seem to be fine. I see some of the caps and they don't appear to be bulging, so that looks okay. There's an IC here which may be a bridge rectifier. Yeah, that's probably the bridge rectifier. Yeah, I can see a jungle IC down there somewhere. So it's one of these monitors with one IC doing everything. It's a Mitsubishi tube, 14-inch. There are some adjustments here on the neck. At least five adjustments. And you can see here at the back it says JRC, which is Japan Radio Corporation. So that matches with the manufacturer. Oh God. Lots of spiders in here. There must have been a bug party or something. That's a big Huntsman. Well, hopefully they've enjoyed themselves. And if we look down there, we can see the jungle IC. I don't know what part number it is. It's a Mitsubishi, but it's definitely one of these ICs that does everything. Here's the high voltage transformer, the flyback. It has the screen and focus adjustments here on the side, which is good. I'm assuming there are some more adjustments. Yes, I can see some pots down there, so plenty of things to adjust. Well, there's nothing else to do but try to power it on. It looks okay. Apart from the bad boys over there, I'll get rid of those. As you can see, I've simply unmounted the speaker because I want to get rid of the back so I can clean it. The other thing I noticed was the power plug here has been replaced. And one of the things I wanted to check is the polarity, whether I get active or neutral correct. And as far as I can see, that looks okay. Blue seems to be in neutral and brown in active. That seems to be correct. I have to take the plug off in order to get it through the small hole there. I think this monitor must have had a different power plug in the beginning. So I'll take this off, so reattach it, get rid of the back so I can clean it, and then we'll plug this in and see if it fires up. Okay, as you see, I've taken the vacuum cleaner to it to get the huntsman and his friends out of it. I don't want them to be staring at me. That huntsman, by the way, wasn't very big. They get a lot bigger, I can tell you that. But anyway, let's turn this around, and I've plugged it into power, and I'm stepping a bit back. You never know what happens. Hopefully it doesn't blow any fuses. I haven't turned this on before, so it's a first for both of us. Here we go. Ooh, I can hear the flyback coming on, and I can hear some noise from the speaker. But are we getting anything on the monitor? Let's try the brightness. I'm not seeing anything on the brightness, but that might be because it's too bright in here. The contrast. The speaker's working, but I can't see anything on the monitor itself. The brightness is all the way up, and normally you would expect to see something if that were the case, if it was working. Color. Interesting. Switching input. No. I'm going to check the CRT, sorry. There are no vacuum tubes here except the CRT, of course, to see if I can see any glowing thing where the filament is on. I can't see if the filament is on or not. I might have to turn off the lights to see that. Let me check that. That's the thing. If the filament's not turning on, then maybe the vacuum tube, the CRT might be faulty. I hope not. I'll turn it off and I'll test it in the darkness and I'll tell you what I saw. As you see, I've had to dismantle the monitor in order to gain some access to the circuit board to do some measurements. It's been very difficult to poke into it without killing myself. So I've set it up like this. I made that L bracket and to support the CRT tube because it can't stand up like that by itself. It's handy to see the 240 to 110 transformer coming into good use as a heavy weight. But what I did, I actually turned all the lights off to check the filament in the CRT, and the filament did come on, and I could see it glowing in the dark. So definitely the CRT is functioning. Now I have the service manual and it has a troubleshooting table or a chart, and I'll show you what they recommend I do. So let me put that up here. The first thing they want to do, if there's no raster, is to measure 115 volts on C103 and ground. The second thing they want to do is check the 24 kilovolt on the CRT tube. I don't have a high voltage probe, so but I can definitely sense the high voltage. It's not that difficult. The third thing, if that is not correct, is to check a waveform on Q504 emitter, which is the video amplifier. And then the fourth thing would be checking the waveform at Q502, which is the video buffer. So I'll show you these things on the circuit diagram. So first of all, to measure the C103, interestingly, C102 to C104 are capacitors in a bridge rectifier. These are discrete diodes. There are 4 of them on the board. Let me see if I can show you them. And they want me to measure on C103. If you go here, well, it's a bit hard to get there, but if we go, you can see one of them there. Another one is behind that capacitor, and D104 is there, and there's another one. So these 3 capacitors are the ones they are talking about. I can't measure directly on the capacitors because to do that I have to get to the underside of the board, and I simply can't, because if you see there's a metal base and I can't get at it at the bottom. But I put my clip on this resistor, which is a 2 ohm resistor. If you see that in the schematic, it's R101. It's a 7 watt resistor. This one here. So I'm basically measuring here the output of the bridge rectifier. So with that, I'll turn it on and we'll see what happens. I'm ready to turn it on and hopefully we get some voltage on that. Okay. What do we have here? All right, we're getting 148.8 volts out of the bridge rectifier, which is more than the 115 volts, which is interesting. Now, one of the cool things here is the power on LED. I don't know if you can see that here, but it's so cool to see this. It's bright red, big square blob. So I think that's fantastic. I might take a photo of it and show you in a better light. Anyway, we are definitely getting the voltage. Now the next thing they want to check was, and I'll show you again on the diagram, Q504, because I'm assuming we have high voltage on the CRT, which is this one here. They want to check for pulses, but there's nothing in the troubleshooting table to tell me what preconditions are before I do that. And if we're checking for video here, I'm assuming I need some video input. So what I've done is I've got this Vivita camera, and I'm going to plug that into the composite video here. Turn it on. And send a video signal into the circuit before I do any monitoring. But lo and behold, the thing gives me video. So it's interesting. I've realized that it is actually functioning, and you can see I'll put a test pattern. It's just a photo of an image I've printed out, which is handy because I don't have a TV test generator. And it looks like the monitor is working. Why it's not showing any raster without any video input, I'm not sure. Maybe it's because the brightness is fairly low and it just can't pump up the brightness. But given that it seems to be working, I'm going to take the board out, and I'm going to check the capacitors, and if they're all okay, I'll leave them. If I find any with high ESR, I'll replace them. I'll put it back together again and do some adjustments. So that's my next step. I've finally managed to get the board raised, and I can now see the underside, the solder side. And I've got my ESR meter and the capacitor meter, and I'll be going through the capacitors to measure the ESRs, especially the electrolytics. And if I do find something, I'll show you. If not, I'll put it back together again and I'll have to do some adjustments. But let me start the ESR journey. There's a fair few capacitors in here, and along the way I'll be checking out some of the connectors to see if there's any cracks in the soldering, but I haven't seen any yet, so hopefully that's all good. I think this video is now long enough. I've finally gone through all the capacitors, and to my surprise I could not find a single electrolyte which portended to be suspicious in any way, shape or form. So I haven't had to replace any. When I looked for cracks, I couldn't see any cracks on the soldering side of the board, but I did see a crack forming on the little circuit board on top of the flyback transformer. I'll show you a photo of that. I also noticed a crack forming on the circuit board on the neck of the CRT. I had to scrape that back and put a wire to fix that. But once I've done all of that, I've put it back together again, as you can see, and it seems to be working very well. I haven't put back the cover because I'm planning to take my Commodore C64, which had a faulty SID chip. I bought an aftermarket SID chip. I'll put that in, create the cable I need for the chroma and luminance, and hook it up to this one and see how that goes. So I'll do that in a follow-up video, and we can see how good this one is with chroma and luma video. I hope to see you then. So thanks for stopping by at the eCave today.